Today, you're going to hear some interesting ideas about never hire your friends. Only the never is crossed out. It comes from a great book that has just been released, Never Hire Your Friends. And with us today, we have Marcylle Combs, the author of that book. And I'm excited to hear about how you are going to help us with leadership, especially when it gets messy with a friend, and the conflict communication that we all need. So welcome. We're so excited that you're here with us.
I'm so happy to be here with you today, Dianna. I'm really honored that you would have me on the show because I know you're doing some amazing work with women, and which is really my heart.
You know, isn't that true? We've got a women's group starting up, as you know, and it's been so much fun, and a mentorship with John Maxwell, and lots of women are involved in that. And so I'm interested because let's face it, you are a leader amongst leaders. You have started companies, you've helped companies grow. You went from a nurse to a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. And I want to start there. Going from healthcare to building a business with over 1,200 employees across 3 states. So what personal leadership traits were most critical during that journey?
Let me just say, you mentioned his name. I had John Maxwell's books long before I ever met the man or ever thought I would meet the man.
Yes.
I think that if you want to know the truth, is that as a nurse, even a bachelor's prepared nurse, which I am, you never have a business class. So I really learned business on the job, as well as I bought the dummies books, how to start a company, all the dummy books. And actually, I will tell you, they are don't downplay that. And
That's
don't think
right. They're good books.
they're
Good books.
great elemental books. I started a nonprofit, and really I met with a lawyer one time, and I had no clue the question she was asking me. So I had to go buy how to start a nonprofit for dummies. But my companies were all for profit. And I will say I fell in love with the industry, and which is a very home health and hospice are a very relational industry. Fell in love with it, and the owner wanted to sell, and I knew that if based on who he was going to sell to, that I was going to have to find another job. And if you want to get really down to an elemental reason, I just didn't want to switch jobs. And so I just thought, why not sell it to me? I had helped him grow the company, and I will say he was a young guy about my age, and said, Marcylle, you in this little town, which was a town of about 300,000 in Texas, you can be as big as you want to be. And for some reason, at the age of 32, I believed him. And so I just really went about trying to grow this company in a relationship kind of way and try to learn everything I could, and then ultimately bought that company about 7 years later. And then went on to, buy and sell and restart several other companies. I think 7 or 8. I'm not totally sure. So,
You started and sold so many companies, we're not certain.
well,
Yet I do know they've all been very, very successful. Otherwise, no one would have wanted to buy them.
true. But you know what? The key to that really is your team. And I was able to develop, I'm sure I blew it. If anyone's listening who worked for me in the very early days, I blew it a lot before I got it down. And I just thought, you know what, which is what my book is all about. If I have to go to work and spend most of my life working, I need to like the people I work with. So I kind of made a personal decision that I would only hire people I like. Now, you have to have certain licenses and, that kind of thing to do certain jobs in healthcare and home health and hospice. But I thought, if I don't like them, even if they're a totally different personality, which most of them were,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hire them. And I just went with that philosophy, and it succeeded really beyond my own dreams.
Well, with a book called Never Hire Your Friends and the Never Crossed Out. In fact, I know you have a book there so they can see the cover of
Yes,
that and know
I
what
do.
I'm talking
I just
about. Yes.
happened to.
The fact of it is, tell us the story behind that title, because something had to happen that you wrote that book.
Do you know, originally the title was going to be Friendship Management. And I work with one of my sons. I have 5 children, so I have a whole litter of children. One of my sons is a graphic designer, and he kept saying, he designed the cover and does most of our work along that line. And he kept saying, Mom, I think that this title, of friendship management, people are going to be confused. They're going to think you're talking about managing your friendships, which that is part of it. But he came up with about 10 titles, but we immediately loved this one because the normal advice from anyone, people I worked with, even really my business mentor, who was the guy that about my age that I worked, he was like, Marcylle, you can never have people at your house. You never want to bring them into your personal home. You never, I mean, from the beginning, I had a Christmas party at my house when we were just about 10 people, and I didn't have a great house, but I had them all in for the Christmas party. But I think the normal advice, even today,
Yeah.
is never hire your family, never hire your friends. And I would say, yes, you have to hold to some standards there for yourself mainly. But it is a much more enriching experience if you go against the normal behavior and you really do hire your friends or hire your people. Truly, when I first started the business first started working, got in my first management role, I didn't know anybody in this town. My husband was getting his PhD from Texas Tech. I didn't know anyone except people I went to church with. And so I would say to the pastor, who was a good friend of mine, if you see a nurse, you are to call me and say, this person came. So I really started with kind of that concept because I had no experience. It was a tiny company. We didn't have the money for a recruiter. The internet was not, you didn't hire, I mean, the internet was just in some old dude's back, garage, being conceptualized at that point. And so that was the way you had to do it, either the newspaper or
Yeah.
through networking. And I thought, what kind of people am I going to get out of the newspaper? So
Yeah, you never know, right? You never know
never
who's going to
know.
walk through your door. And with leadership getting messy, I mean, let's face it, there are times that it's not a position, it's a choice. I know you say that. So walk us through a tough leadership moment that actually tested your values. And how did you make that choice? Because here you are with a friend.
Well, I will say, probably if I think about it, the hardest time I actually had to terminate an employee was the daughter of a good friend of mine. And she wasn't on a good path at that moment. And we're required by regulations to do at that time, intermittent drug testing. And she came up positive. And it wasn't, a bad offender drug, but it was a drug. And so we had to terminate her. And I would say there
Wow.
were 2 other times of nurses. There's a group in Texas called TPAP, and it's through the state board. And we had 2 different nurses go through that, one of which went to church with me. Now, that story ended really poorly, and she ended up losing her family and everything over a drug. That was sad. So for me, that was a really hard thing because I did care about them. If you find one tiny part of someone to love, and I've never found anyone yet. There are people harder to love than others. But I've never found anyone yet that you couldn't find one little piece. If you care about your employees, then it is harder to fire them. And that's probably why people don't want to hire their friends because it's harder.
Well, walk us through some of the conversation that you would have, because right now, let's be vulnerable. I mean, it's a tough place to be in, especially somebody tests positive. It's a friend's daughter, for heaven's sakes. The mother or dad may not even know, and so now you
Right.
have to let her go.
Right.
So what are some of the words that you would use on something like that?
Do you know, fortunately, with most of the people which I like to hire slow and fire quick, because, by the time I can't trust a person, there should be no real surprises. I mean,
Right.
if it's anything other than drug testing, if you're going to get terminated, you should know your standards aren't up to par. But I would say, from a personal integrity perspective, I just sat down with them and said, now, one of them who went to church with me, she lied. She was doing some things, and a physician's office called us and said, "Hey, I think she's on drugs." And she, for 30 minutes in the conversation, when I was saying, "Okay, we've gotten these reports on 2 different occasions, blah blah, we're going to do, for cause, we're going to do drug testing, and you understand." And we gave them the opportunity to go through the program of TPAP. And if they aren't randomly chosen to drug test, if they willingly say, I have this problem and I will go through this program and this will happen. But I always started out with, here are the facts. I care about you. You need to tell me the truth. And this girl lied for about 20 minutes into the conversation, to the point that I thought maybe I was crazy. Now, we hadn't drug tested her yet. This was going to be drug testing for cause. But she finally ended up confessing. And we walked her through the program. Now, she relapsed 2 years later after she got off the program, and we terminated her and just said, we're sorry. You had your chance. You tried to do this. We wish you well. But, and to my knowledge, to this day, it is just a terrible situation.
Well,
Drugs
and you
are
work to
an
help
addiction.
her in every way possible,
Right,
which is
right.
what I really wanted the people to hear, because a lot of times they just go, you're gone, out of here, right? You really did care. And so that motherly instinct, it sounds like, kicked in. So how has a mother and being a grandmother helped you in that leadership role?
Do you know, I mean, I had 4 sons, all 2 years apart. And then 8 years later, we adopted a little girl. So everything I learned, I believe, my most valuable lessons from my children, because they know all the buttons to push. They live with you. They know how to push on your heartstrings. They know the stuff. I learned disappointment and failure and how to recover from that from those kids. They're all, I can honestly say they're all successful, good human beings these days. And so I'm very thankful for that. Grandchildren, I can only say I just spoil them. So I don't know.
So
I
do you
haven't learned any
spoil
hard
your
lessons
employees?
from them. I only get to love them and leave them.
Okay. So love comes first. I've heard that from many people as leaders, that you got to love the people. And so let's talk a little bit about when that conflict comes around, though. Because, Marcylle, you always have to deal with conflict. You're always communicating with the people. And so many employees, conflict's inevitable. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I will say part of what you have to make sure that you do, and it is easier in a small company where you can actually talk to every person versus we had 39 offices when I sold that company. These days I have 3 smaller companies. Only I said I'm not allowed to say small because one of them hit 2 million, and I mean it's all relative, right?
Yes.
But with conflict, you have to set what the standards are for your company right up front. You have to say, who are we? and what is the manner in which we should behave? And everyone, it's not a motto for the back of your badge. It is the mentoring of your key leaders who hopefully can then mentor the next level to the next level. Here's the things upon which we stand. And one of those, when it came to conflict, is first, if you have a problem with someone, your first action is to go directly to that problem. I don't care if they're your peer, they are below you, they are above you. John Maxwell's 360 leader, I can quote lots of his books, but I know you can. So, your first option is to go to them. Don't bring it, I would say, and I'm going to say this very graphically, don't come in my office and throw it up all over my desk and then leave. And then you feel better, and I have a mess to clean up. That is, if you come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. Because my personality is result oriented. I can solve the problem, I can take care of it. But the issue with that is they never learn how to resolve it themselves. So that would, if anyone brought a conflict to me, my first question would be, have you spoken to them? Have you talked to them? And if they say, no, they won't be open, I'm like, you need to go back. You need to sit down with them. If they're not open, then ultimately you both will end up in my office. But I would tell you, yes, I did have conflicts. And I did say, we at this company find one piece that we can love about the other person. Because if you love a tiny bit of someone, you can get beyond all of their idiosyncrasies. Why do we put up with our children and don't throw them out when they're teenagers? Because we love that baby that they used to be. We don't love that teenager that they currently are. And I will tell you, sometime even with your adult children, when they kind of try to decide who's my favorite, I'm like, listen, I love you all the same, but some days I like some of you better than others. So, and that's the truth with employees also. You have to say, we don't slam doors. In my company, we did not use foul language. That was unacceptable. I do have a couple choice words that I think sometimes are the only ones to describe another person, but I will, and I'm not telling you what those are, but I will say that was the behavior, that was the culture. You don't scream and yell. You want to talk to me about a problem, you come into my office, you sit down, and you say, Marcylle, I have a problem with how you handle this. And if you have done open communication, your employees will do that with you, and they will do that with each other. We are not allowed at this company to just tolerate another one. I can work with them even though I can't do anything. That was unacceptable. Did it happen? Of course it did happen sometimes, but from leadership to mentorship, we would say you must resolve your conflicts. You must learn how to value the other person.
Well, you used a great word there. You said tolerate. And culture is what we tolerate. It's not what we talk about. It's not what's up on the wall.
Yeah.
It's what do you tolerate? And as a leader, what are you doing? Are you acting out all those values? Are you living the
Right.
values and the culture that you created or desired to create within the company? Because, you know, the Japanese have it right. The company rots from the head down, just like a fish, right? And
great.
so you bring in adventure and wittiness and trustworthiness in your leadership style. That's the way that people described you. And they said that you were friendly, you were tough, you had standards. So how important are people to know the standards by which you're going to live in the company?
Do you know, there's nothing more important than that. And I would say, and I would say to them, we were a for-profit company. I still have 3 for-profit companies. You know, we are, you know, no money, no mission. But when you're in the community, you say you work for Marcylle Combs, you represent me. I mean, you are me to them. And it is important to me. And I would say this, I am a person of faith, and I would say much what John says, but we accept you and love you for wherever you are on that journey. We prayed in meetings. I was never sued. We had 700 or 800 employees at one time.
Wow.
Never sued, never any of that, because I said, I love you for who you are. I might not agree with you. But I think when it came, of course, we had a lot of patients at that time. Now we mainly do consulting to people who do take care of patients. But, you know, you mess with my patient, you don't take care of my patient, then you will be terminated. I mean, there won't be a second chance. You do anything to harm a patient, I'm sorry, you have to work this out on the other side. And I will say that I am tough in a business perspective. I'm not going to let people walk over me. I am a very kind person. I don't need to cuss or yell to get my point across. Now, if I lower my voice and talk slower, you might not want to run at me.
You know, isn't that interesting? I find that with more women. Same way. When I'm very concerned, and I love that phrase, help me understand. Just help me understand. So as we move forward in this modern world, you and I have been around for a while in businesses, and we've seen all types of leaders. Yet something that some leaders are embracing very, very well, and others, well, they're kind of slow to the table, is Chat GPT. And you said that is your best friend. So give us some ideas of ways that you're using it, other than just having it, you know, where you say, write a thank you note for me, write a letter for me. I mean, that is so old school. Come on, let's
girl.
get down into some of the big things. Like I was showing somebody how I was putting different pictures up, right, over a sofa, and I was just saying, put this picture, replace this, do that, and it was showing me how the room would look, and people
Right.
go, you do that on Chat GPT? I go, yes, it's
Yes.
AI. So give us some ideas of some things that you're using AI for.
Do you know what? AI does scare me a little. Let me tell you that. But I am, you know, my children would say that I have a million gadgets and I don't know how to use most of them. But I love Chat. Copilot, which is a Microsoft product. I actually was listening to an AI podcast. Claude is another one. Anyway, I am just so amazed. But I'll give you some examples of chat. And I will say, for our company, if it's proprietary, we only use Copilot because that will keep it only in our ecosystem. Now I think chat might also have a product like that. I have the highest, whatever the highest level of chat, that's what I have. But I actually set up resumes for chat. So I will take a certain person. We'll say, if I'm trying to do something on sales, I might say, you're a sales manager with a degree in this, with this many years of experience doing this, and based on that, answer these questions. And then if it doesn't give me what I want, I clarify that and clarify that and I use it every day. Now, I don't usually use it for how to rearrange the pictures on the wall, and I don't really, but I do use it a lot, and we all do, for social media. I speak a lot, either in the specialty subfield of home care and hospice or in leadership, and I use it every day for those kinds of things. Or if I want, last year, which really is not my gift. So if you're listening to this, you don't want to hire me for fundraising. But I did a fundraising for a person that we were doing a scholarship for as a thank you. Not my favorite job. But I hit my goal. Actually, I doubled my goal. But
Well,
not doing
congratulations
John
for that.
I mean, I wish I was John Maxwell and doing that, because he's like the man. But if I wanted the letter to be more formal, or if I wanted the letter to be more, or you've been in real estate, or you have been in real estate. I have a property on the market in Austin, so I gave it the address and asked for the ranges. I looked at what other properties had sold. 30 seconds.
So good. So good.
Yes.
Amazing what we can do. And so let's say, though, that, Marcylle, you're looking back, okay? And you sit down with your younger self, and you're sitting there looking at your younger self, just starting out in healthcare. What 3 truths would you be talking about leadership and telling yourself?
Oh, I think one is to make sure that I'm reading all the books to be better with the financial side. I had a lot of experts, but that, as I said, you don't take a business class when you're getting a degree in nursing, which I actually think is a crime. If I could tell that, I don't know that that's a leadership truth, but I would say I would have taken a business course in college, which you couldn't have cut off my right arm to do that when I was that age. But I would say always be prepared. And it's one thing, I heard Condoleezza Rice say that. She never made excuses. Her parents always taught her, you be the most prepared person in the room. I would say learn, become good at sales and promotion and marketing. And when I say that, always be ethical, always be who you are. Always be confident in what you know, even if you have to fake it. And third, I would say read all the books, evaluate all the information, but then go with your heart. Go with your heart for the right thing to do. And I know you just asked for 3, but I will say the one thing I always tried to do was, and I would always say it is essential. Have people around you who care about you but will be honest with you. You can't have that group think problem that gets as you get to be the CEO. Um, you know, listen to what other people are saying and evaluate it for truth.
Here's what's so good. You even taught us an extra thing because you exceeded expectations. I asked for 3, you gave us 4. So that's a leadership style right there, my dear. And let's just finish. What do you want to be known for?
Oh, gosh. I want to be known for a person who is very kind but very strong. I want to, if I can leave this world, I would like to have an impact on people. And whatever, I'm a person of faith. So whatever God calls me to do, that I won't be too tired or too old or too afraid to do that. I, you know, I truly want to have a voice. I would love to be able to say that I've helped women achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. Of course, this goes without saying that my family, if I had failed at my family, I would have failed at everything. They, besides God, then my family, and then my business, and always that order. So I would hope that people would say that about me.
Well, and the fact of it is, that's the way that you have lived your life. So once again, the book, you can order it on Amazon.
Right.
You can go to Marcylle's website, which is down below. Never hire your friends with the never crossed out.
Right.
Your son did a great job on the title of that book and designing that book. So tell him that's really good. The other thing we want you to know about is the fact that Marcylle helps other people.
Mm-hmm.
If you've received something from this podcast, go ahead, subscribe on the button down below. Marcylle, you are helping each and every one of us become more, and that's what this is about. Every single day, improving ourselves, which you have done, going from being a nurse to a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, now running 3 companies. So thank you so much. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be with you today, and thank you for the work that you're doing every day.